up guys, it's Amelia. Happy Wednesday and welcome back to my channel. First video of 2022. I'm definitely gonna be posting videos again. I know I kind of went missing there for a little while. You guys were probably beside yourselves. Just kidding, but I'm planning to post one video per month this coming year, just with school and everything. I haven't had time to do weekly videos, but that's okay. Hopefully a crafting video because that's what I'd like to do. So this is what we're making today. We're making a granny square tote bag, an upcycle of an old tote bag, and a way to use up some extra granny squares that I had left over after I made my granny square blanket. A couple videos ago, I shared with you guys that I was making this blanket. It's been in the works for over a year because it took a long time to make all of these squares. I finally finished it. I wanted to share it with you guys. I've been obsessed with making granny squares recently, so I had a few left over. So I decided to make a tote bag, and I had this old tote bag. Let's be honest, this tote bag, nobody's gonna want it. It was probably given to somebody at a conference just for being there, and it's just gonna be thrown away. I got it because I went to a used book sale and they put my books in it. This turned out really cute, and I never know with my projects if they're actually gonna turn out cute or not because I film them as I'm making them. So I'm gonna show you guys how to make this tote bag and make all of these fun different types of squares. And you can make it into a bag, you can make it into a blanket, you can make it into a pillow, whatever you want. You'll know how to make these squares. And if you've never crocheted before, do not worry because I'll go through everything step by step and show you how to do it. So first, let's start off with your regular old granny square. Here is how you're gonna make this guy.
So to make a basic granny square, you're first going to need a crochet hook. I'm going to be using my favorite hook, the G hook, and you're going to need some yarn and you're going to need some scissors. First thing you're gonna do is make a slip knot, and how you're going to do that is get the end of your yarn, put it around your two first fingers, poke it in between the fingers and also in between the loop of the yarn you just made, and then grab that loop, don't pull it all the way through, and grab the tail, hold both tight and pull. And that creates a slip knot where you can then pull on the tail of the yarn and adjust the size of the loop. So you're going to pull it down and put your hook inside. What we're gonna do is something called a chain. And a chain is simply where you yarn over, which means that you put the yarn over the hook. So you yarn over once and you pull through the loop that's already on your hook. And that is one chain. So we're gonna do 3 chains to start. To begin a project, a lot of people do something called a magic ring or a magic circle. And there's lots of different ways to start a project. So if you already know how to crochet, you can start however you want. But I like to start with 3 chains and then stitching back into the first chain. So that's what we're gonna do. Now we're going to do a half double crochet stitch back into the first chain. So a half double crochet is where you yarn over, you go through your first chain where you have 2 loops above your hook and 1 loop under your hook. You're going to yarn over again and you're going to pull through that chain or stitch. Now you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. And that is your first half double crochet. You're going to do 2 more in the same beginning chain. When you're done, your piece will look like this. You can see 3 stitches, chain 2. So if you remember, that's yarn over and go through the loop on your hook. Once you've done 2 of those, you're going to repeat that process of 3 half double crochets, 2 chains, 3 more times, all in this same beginning loop. When you've done that 3 more times, you can see that your stitching is starting to take like a square shape, and the corners are where you are chaining 2 in between your 3 half double crochets. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna connect your row. This is called 1 row. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the first stitch that you did, and we're gonna do something called a slip stitch, where you yarn over and you pull directly through the loop just to put it all together. So I just like to take that tail and pull on it to kind of cinch in the middle. Our next step is going to be row 2. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna chain 2 to start the row, and then you're gonna start stitching in those 2 chains. So to make this granny square, you don't really stitch in the stitches, you're gonna kind of stitch in the spaces. So you're gonna chain 2, and then you're going to do 3 half double crochets into this space. Once you've done that, you're going to chain 2, stitch 3 half double crochets into that same space once again. Now you've created the next corner for row 2, and it looks like this. Chain 1, and then you're gonna repeat that entire step of 3 half double crochets into the corner, chain 2, 3 more half double crochets, chain 1. And you're gonna do that in this corner, and in this corner, and in this corner. So after that slip stitch, we're ready to start row 3. You're literally going to repeat this exact same process, except now we have these center spaces to crochet in as well. So you're going to start with a chain of 2, and you're going to do our little grouping of 3 half double crochets, chain 2, 3 half double crochets into this corner. And after that, you're going to chain 1. And now we have this middle space where you're going to crochet 3 half double crochets. When you're finished with that, you're going to chain 1 again, and then you're going to repeat that process 3 more times. Okay, now you're at the end of row 3 and you have an even bigger square. So now what you're going to do is slip stitch into this first chain that you did at the beginning of the row to have your row finished off like this. Final row, row number 4, you're going to do the exact same thing all the way around. This time you have 2 center spaces, and those are just going to be connected by 1 chain as we've been doing, beginning with our 2 chains, 3 half double crochets, 2 chains, 3 half double crochets, 1 chain, 3 half double crochets, 1 chain, 3 half double crochets, 1 chain, repeat all the way around. After you finish row 4, the last thing you're going to do is slip stitch into one of your chains from the beginning, and then cut your yarn. And your first granny square is done.
Okay, now let's get into this one. Simple little mushroom. Really cute, very simple. Here's how you make it.
So to make the mushroom, you're gonna start off with a slip knot and you're gonna chain 5. Then you're gonna turn, you're gonna skip the last chain you did, and you're going to single crochet 4 stitches across. And a single crochet is just where you go through your stitch or your chain, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over and pull through both of those. Row 2 is 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease stitch in the next 2 stitches. And then 1 single crochet, chain 1 and turn. For the third row, you're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 1 and turn. And for row 4, you're going to do a decrease stitch in the first 2 stitches, a single crochet in the next stitch, and then chain 1 and turn. So you have 2 stitches across in total. For the next 3 rows, 5 through 7, you're just going to do 2 single crochets across, chain 1 and turn. Then you're going to tie off your yarn and get the color for the top of your mushroom. So for the top of the mushroom, you're going to chain 2 and then do 3 half double crochets into that first chain, and then chain 1 and turn. For the second row, you're going to do 2 half double crochets into each stitch across, and then chain 1 and turn. For the third row, you're going to do a half double crochet, 2 half double crochets into the second stitch, 3 half double crochets, 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet, chain 1 and turn. That's a lot of half double crochets. For the fourth and final row, you're going to do a half double crochet in the first stitch and then 2 half double crochets in each stitch across until you get to the last stitch where you do only 1 and tie it off. Then you're going to stitch it onto your white granny square or whatever color you want using the tail of your yarn with your yarn needle.
That's all that I do.
Okay, next we've got our cup of tea. Honestly, this is like one of the ones I was the most excited about. How adorable. I am obsessed with tea. I drink like 7 cups of tea a day. Not all caffeinated, obviously, I think. Maybe I should check. Anyway, I'm obsessed with tea, so I was like, tea has to make it onto this bag. So here's how to make your little teacup.
And you know the drill by now. You start with a slip knot, and we're going to begin by chaining 8. This is gonna be the base of our little saucer. So after you chain 8, you're going to skip the first chain that you did and stitch back 7 half double crochets. Okay, that is literally all you're gonna do for the saucer. So just cut your yarn and leave a nice long tail to sew it down and pull your yarn through. So for the teacup, you're gonna start with your slip knot and you're gonna chain 8. Then you're gonna skip the last chain that you did and you're going to stitch half double crochets across. So it should be 8 in total. And then your piece is gonna look like this. And this is actually gonna be the top of the teacup like this. So then you're going to chain 1 and turn. Stitch half double crochets across again. At the end of that row, you're going to chain 1 and turn. Now for the first 2 stitches, you're going to combine them. So you're gonna yarn over, go through the first stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then you're gonna go through the next stitch as well. So you're gonna have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4, and that's kind of a decrease stitch that combines those 2 into 1. Then you're going to half double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then in the last 2, you're gonna do the same thing where you yarn over, go through, and then go through the next one to combine the last 2 stitches into 1 as well. And that's gonna leave you with 5 stitches across instead of 7. So then you chain 1, but this time we're going to do something called a single crochet in the first stitch. So you don't yarn over, you just go through your stitch, yarn over, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and pull through both of those. Then do 3 regular half double crochets. And in the last stitch, you're going to do another single crochet. So now your little teacup's looking like this. So now we're going to make the handle. So I'm going to go up the side and I'm going to do a slip stitch. So I'm just gonna put my hook through the side, yarn over, and then pull through. So now I'm up a little higher on the side. And to make the teacup handle, I'm going to chain 6. You might have to do it a different amount depending on how loose your chains are. So then you slip stitch it where you want it on the side of the teacup, chain 1, and now you're gonna turn and actually stitch 5 single crochets across the handle. Slip stitch again, and your little teacup is done. The first thing I'm gonna do is weave in the shorter tail from the saucer, then place it like this and start stitching it down. You're done stitching down the saucer, go ahead and turn it to the back and then just weave in your tail end and tie your string off. Now you're gonna take your teacup piece and I'm gonna go ahead and weave in the shorter tail. Then place your cup. You should start with the bottom. When you get over to the teacup handle, just make sure that you stitch down the entire handle. And when you're done, your cup should look something like this. Now the last thing we're gonna do is like add some tea or coffee or whatever you want in the cup. So I'm just gonna use this light brown yarn. I just cut off a piece and I'm gonna go ahead and knot the end, come in from the back of my cup. Now I'm just gonna do a whip stitch motion and I'm just gonna go vertically all the way across, starting thinner on the edges and getting thicker as I go in to represent the liquid in the cup. And you can go across as many times as you need to make it a nice thick line. When you're done, it should look something like this.
Okay, third, we're gonna make this little house. Oh my gosh, I'm calling it the cottage because it's just so cute. It's a little cottage. So here's how you make a little house.
I'm gonna start off with my white granny square for the base and get started on the body of the house with this dark purple yarn. You're going to first chain across 10. After that, you're going to skip the last chain that you did and you're going to half double crochet 9 stitches back. After that, your piece is gonna look like this and you're gonna chain 1 and turn. And then you're going to do that for 3 more rows so that you have 4 rows in total. When you're done with those 4 rows, your piece is gonna look like this, so you can go ahead and tie it off. Now for the roof of our little house, I'm using this light purple. I'm gonna start off with chaining 12. Then you're gonna skip the last chain that you did and you're gonna half double crochet 11 back across. At the end of that row, you're going to chain 1 and turn. Now on the first 2 stitches, you're going to do a decrease stitch. So yarn over, go through the first stitch, yarn over and pull through. You're gonna have 3 loops on your hook, then go through the second stitch, yarn over and pull through. You'll have 4, and then pull yarn through all 4 loops to turn those first 2 stitches into 1. Then stitch across all of the other stitches regularly until you get to the last 2. When you get to the last 2 stitches, you're going to repeat the decrease stitch process to turn those 2 stitches into only 1. And then you're gonna chain 1 and turn. Repeat that process for another row, and when you're done with that row, your piece is going to look like this. Now I'm going to make a door for my house, and I'm going to make a red door out of this red yarn. The door is gonna be really simple. Start with your slip knot and chain 4. Then you're going to turn it, and you're going to single crochet into the 3 chains. Then chain 1 and turn, and repeat a row of single crochets. Then tie off your yarn, and there is your little door. Next thing I'm going to do is make a little chimney, and I'm going to do that using this pink colored yarn. Starting with your slip knot, you're just going to chain 3, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to single crochet a row of 2 stitches back across, chain 1 and turn, and then do another row of 2 stitches, and that's going to be your chimney. Now there's a few more details I want to add, but I'm just going to stitch this all together just like we have been before using my yarn needle. So now I'm just going to embroider a little window on the side using white yarn, and then doing a little T across it with black for the window panes. And I'm also going to do something called a French knot for the door handle. It's where you come out the back of your piece. You twist the yarn around your needle 3 times and you go back down and it forms this cute little knot. So you could do the windows on both sides, you could do whatever you want, there's lots of options. You could do like little climbing vines with little flowers that are the French knots.
And lastly, we've got this little toadstool pattern. I didn't go through this step for step with you guys because now you're crocheting pros. I'll have the pattern up on the screen and you guys will, I'm sure, be able to figure out how to do it if you've done all of the other squares because they're all very similar.
Once you have all the pieces laid out where you want, you're going to need to assemble them. So I'm going to actually crochet the pieces together. Take 2 pieces next to each other and put them face together. Begin with a slip knot and go through the first stitch of the first piece and the first stitch of the second piece. And basically you're going to stitch across with single crochets and combine the 2 pieces together. The side and bottom and the other side together.
Okay, so once you have all your squares, you need to lay them out on whatever tote bag you're planning to cover to use as the lining. So my tote bag was very conveniently going to be 4 across and 4 down, and then when I started putting it together I realized that I needed a little extra, so I reused these black granny squares that I had from my blanket and I folded them in half so that they would cover the bottom. I just attached them all together in a row of 4, then attached it here, then attached it here, then turned it right side out because you're crocheting them wrong side together. I made sure I stitched up the sides and then slipped the lining in the bag, and then it was a little difficult at first to sew the lining in just because I wasn't really sure what I was doing. But what worked best for me is to put the lining in and then to just make sure the center is centered in between the handles. I used a pointy yarn needle and I just used black yarn and whip stitched all the way around to hold that together. And then I put my hand in the bag, made sure the corner lined up, and did a few stitches on the side here and a few stitches on the side here with black yarn just to secure the bottom. And that's literally all I did to attach it. I ended up deciding to leave the handles black just because there's a lot going on with this bag, so I was like, it'll tie in from the bottom. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you really enjoyed it and that you get a chance to try to make these granny squares. Like I said, huge granny square kick happening. I don't even know what project I can make now that I've made a whole blanket in a tote bag. Maybe like another sweater, because I've also made a sweater. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. If you liked my video, please let me know in the comments if you're gonna try to make your own bag or if you just enjoyed watching. And I will see you all next month for another video. Bye guys!
I'm going to start off with my white granny square for the base. Start off with my white granny square, wow.